and then
Yeah,
we
this is all for you
switched.
people who don't
Copernicus
know the
when we
truth.
switched. Talk about, because most people think,
See?
only dumb people think the Earth was flat. When back then, correct me if I'm mistaken, but there was like this, the philosophers of the time and the scientists of the time. They were going back and forth.
See, this is right in the moment. I'm doing this right now.
It wasn't like there was any proof of the heliocentric model just somehow explaining the timeline.
Yeah, I've got the timeline, the history of flat Earth on my channel. You can watch that extrapolated completely. But for now, quickly, nobody thought the Earth was a spinning ball until 500 BC or so, when Pythagoras came up with it. And for the next few hundred years, other Greek philosophers toyed with the idea and wrote about it. Aristophanes, Plato, and Aristotle. And then it disappeared for another 2,000 years. Nobody talked about it. Nobody believed it. There's no record of anyone writing books about it, anything like this, until 1543, when Copernicus came out with his book, and then suddenly it became a big topic. And with Kepler and Galileo and some of these other people coming in, giving their quote-unquote proofs for the spinning ball Earth, slowly but surely became the mainstream model, up until about the 1800s, when actually there was a flat Earth resurgence, when a bunch of flat Earth scientists started doing experiments and printing books and newspapers and other things, doing lectures. And so it was a hot topic of debate around the turn of the 19th century. And then, of course, with Einstein's relativity theory, which is a philosophy that basically banishes everything to ultimate relativity, so there can't be any motionless thing in the universe, like they said the Earth was. And then eventually you get into NASA with the moon landings, and nowadays they've got all these fake CGI pictures we were talking about, which everyone believes are real. So most everybody thinks that the Earth is a spinning ball now, and it's really just been a long-term propaganda campaign over the past 500 years, which, when you look into it, spurred by and maintained by Freemasonry, the oldest and largest secret society in the world, with over 5 million members in almost every country in the world. You find that Copernicus and Newton and Galileo, right up until modern day, the astronauts, almost every astronaut that claims to have gone into outer space or walked on the moon is publicly known as a Freemason. So it's the same group of people who's been promoting this idea for the past 500 years. So that's another red flag, as Eddie was talking about. There's so many red flags when you find out that the original moon landing footage has all been erased. They can't find it. And the telemetry data, can't find that. Things that would actually confirm these things to be true. They can't find those. The moon rocks have now come out. When you look into these things, it's completely obvious, as Eddie said, that the moon landing is a complete hoax. And then you gotta ask, well, why would they do that? And when you look at the history of flat Earth, and you see that the moon landing hoax allowed them to hypothetically get far enough away from their ball Earth to take a picture of it, that is the main reason for the moon landing hoax, is to perpetuate, to continue to propagandize with this spinning ball, Big Bang evolution cosmology that they've come up with, where you're nothing, you're just a speck of dust in an infinite universe that came about from a random Big Bang accident with no consciousness or life involved, and then suddenly, somehow, out of nothing, consciousness, life, diversity, nature, everything that you see around you just came into existence through slow evolution of cold, hard matter, and then somehow consciousness and life comes into it. So they have this whole materialist philosophy that they've been trying to inculcate the world into, and the spinning ball Earth is just part of it. As I'm saying, it gets into evolution and Big Bang and all this other crap. And the idea is to make you believe, well, first of all, the idea is to have you stop trusting your own senses, your own experiments and experience, and to instead trust these authority figures who are giving you information, giving you pictures and videos and saying, this is the truth, trust us, instead of trusting yourself, which using your own devices and your own methods, it's easy to prove that the Earth is not a spinning ball. I have a book called 200 Proofs the Earth is Not a Spinning Ball. Everyone can check out. And you can see for yourself, I mean, NASA doesn't even claim to have 200 proofs that we live on a spinning ball. The most you'll ever be able to find is 10. They've never felt the need to try to come up with more than 10 supposed proofs that you live on a spinning ball. And in my book, I debunk all 10 of those, and I give you 200 of the opposite reasons why we're obviously not moving. We're motionless, just as you said. We're sitting here doing this podcast. You don't feel like you're spinning around an axis at 1,000 miles per hour, around the sun at 66,600 miles per hour, while the sun is also moving. So it's not the heliocentric theory anymore. Now it's the acentric theory, because they don't know what the center of the universe is. So the sun is also traveling 500,000 miles per hour around the Milky Way galaxy, and the Milky Way galaxy itself is shooting millions of miles per hour off from that Big Bang that they say happened 14.7 billion years ago. They know exactly how long ago it happened too. They can make up these huge distances to the stars and these huge numbers of how far things are and how these timelines, because it's bullshit, because they just make it up. It's been getting longer and longer as they go. If you look at Copernicus's figure for how far away the sun supposedly was in his model, it was only a bit more than 3 million miles away. But then you go to Newton and it was up to 26 million, and you keep going. At one time it was over 104 million, and then they've brought it back down to 93 million right now. That's where we're at now. But flat earthers throughout the centuries, as Eddie said, have measured using sextants and plane trigonometry from different points all over the plane, and found out that the sun is very close and very small. It's like a spotlight that illuminates over the plane. About 3,000 miles above us, about 30 miles in diameter is what you get from using these actual measurements that we can do without having to trust these random scientists and their random theories. I mean, do you know how they say that they come up with the distances to the stars? The stars, they figure out how far away they are by taking a star up to a little color chart and determining how blue it is or how red it is. And they say, oh, it's blue shifting. It's blue shifting at this rate, so we know that it's this many light years away from us. A light year is another Star Trek term they came up with to make things that are trillions and trillions and trillions of miles away, supposedly, sound more plausible. So again, they just... It's magic, it's 10 trillion light years away, and we know because of the gradient of the blue on the redshift on our little color scale. Yet you can, with a telescope or with a zoom camera, with your own eyes, look at any star any night and notice every single color of the rainbow and watch it fluctuate through all colors like a pulsating disco ball. So for them to claim that they're able to gauge star distances based on color, this is just par for the course of the kind of pseudoscience that they feed you with a capital S, calling it science.
Hey, what's up?